Hey guys, it's Coach Matt with Lifelong Recovery. In this video, I'm going to talk about repairing trust in relationships after substance use disorder. So if you're someone who has struggled with substance use disorder in the past, or you're still struggling with substances, then there's probably been significant damage to the trust in several of your relationships. Not just with your significant other, but in all the relationships in your life. We're going to focus on the relationship with your significant other, but the things that we talk about will probably apply to many of the relationships in your life. So there's 3 C's that we're going to talk about that are crucial for repairing the trust in your relationships. So again, focusing on if you have a significant other. The first thing that you want to do is you want to see if the relationship is worth saving. And I really emphasize this because it's very easy to get into toxic relationships when we're struggling with substances, and you really want to evaluate the quality of the relationship and see if it's worth repairing, if it is repairable, and if not only you but your partner is going to work towards repairing the relationship. Because it's really easy to become the scapegoat when you're struggling with addiction. And don't get me wrong, addiction creates lots of havoc and destruction in relationships, but both parties are going to have to do some work if you're going to be able to repair the relationship. But when we're talking about just repairing trust from the side of the person who has struggled with substances, I'm going to give you some tips to really work on repairing that trust that has probably been severely damaged over the course of struggling with substances. So the first thing I want to talk about of the 3 C's, remember there's 3 C's. So the first one is commitment. So the very first thing that we have to do if we want to repair the trust in a relationship that has been damaged from our substance use is we have to practice commitment. And the first thing that we want to do is be 100% committed to being sober. So your commitment to sobriety is going to be crucial to repairing the trust in your relationship, assuming that your partner is not using substances in an unhealthy way as well. And if they are, that's a whole different story. But your partner needs to see that you are committed to change, that you are committed to sobriety. Or if you haven't gone into full-blown addiction and you're able to scale back, like let's say you were drinking a lot but you're not addicted, if you are able to go into moderation. Now trust me guys, don't fool yourselves here. If you are able to consistently moderate, if you have not crossed the line into full-blown addiction and you're able to go back and actually control it consistently, that's the key word, consistently. If you screw up once, you drink more than you expected, you drink more than you intended to, and something bad happens or whatever, then basically you have to be honest with yourself that you just can't drink at all, okay? So whether it's moderation or for most people, it's gonna be just being committed to being sober. So a commitment to sobriety, even if you mess up, even if you screw up, if you're new to this, then there's probably going to be some bumps along the road. But showing that commitment to sobriety is going to be key. Your partner needs to see that you really are intending to change your life. You're working towards that sobriety. You're getting help. You're talking to either a professional counselor, or you're going to some kind of support group, or just you're involved in some kind of recovery program. So that's the first key, is commitment to sobriety. The second piece of commitment is honesty. So in addiction, typically you're going to have lots of deception. Now, I will tell you that I thought I was a pretty honest person, even in my addiction, and upon further review, I realized that no, I was actually creating a lot of lies to cover up my drinking and using. And the thing is like, you kind of create this web of deception typically when you're struggling with addiction. So a commitment to, from now on, being honest is going to be really huge. And it sounds like it's going to be hard, but I will tell you guys, my experience with this has been that it's much easier to practice honesty because you don't have to remember what you said. So it's kind of like this huge weight that's lifted off your shoulders when you're actually starting to practice honesty. So the second C is communication. Typically in a relationship that has been affected by substance use disorder, there's not going to be a lot of good communication in it. Probably what is going to happen is the person who is struggling with substances is going to drink or use instead of communicating issues. I mean, it's just the kind of natural consequence of it. So the first thing with this is, if I want to repair the trust in my relationships, I have to be practicing communication on a regular basis. And this means that I'm going to have to be vulnerable. Now, again, another thing that happens with people that struggle with substance use is they typically they're not practicing vulnerability. And what that means is they're not letting their guard down. They're not talking about things that are hard to talk about, things that they feel like the other person might judge or criticize them for. They kind of put up this front. So we're going to have to take that kind of force field off. We're going to have to take that fortress down and start sharing and actually feeling our feelings. And the good thing about this is it may seem, especially for men, I think this can be really difficult, being vulnerable, but being vulnerable actually increases intimacy. I guarantee you, your partner is going to appreciate if you are actually being real about your feelings and sharing them. And part of this is kind of just owning it. I had to really own some things that I was struggling with and talk about things in order to overcome them. Some insecurities, some fears, there was just a lot of things that I was feeling that I was trying to suppress. So you're going to have to start getting kind of comfortable sitting in your feelings and even sharing your feelings probably. The other thing with communication is share your frustrations. Talk about frustrations. If you have something that is bothering you about your partner, just talk about it. Don't accuse them. Don't be blaming or anything like that, but just be real about it and talk about it and process it. And then the last thing is composure. The third C is composure. So what I mean by composure is just maintain composure as best you can. Work on yourself and let the chips fall as they may. Okay, we cannot control anything that anybody else is doing. We can't control other people's behaviors, their opinions, their thoughts, their actions. We can't control any of this. What we have to do is focus on ourselves, be working on improving ourselves, and be committed to this recovery, this healing, and then kind of letting everything else fall as they may. And the best way to do this is really to decide what your principles are that are important to you and just follow these. Be that person, okay? And then your relationship, the trust within your relationship, when you consistently do these things that are following your values, your partner will begin to start trusting you more and more. Now, it's going to take time. Don't think that it's going to happen in just a couple weeks. It's going to take some time. But if you follow these 3 C's, you're going to find that the trust is built in your relationship.